And lame to think that we can't start the game today and play in a way that would say that there is a trust on being free of anxiety. So let's start the game today. That will say that we have a trust on being thrust into a new point of view that will interest you. Okay, well then give me a new point of view that will interest me, whether it's something that you tell me just to shake up my current points of view or the world's current points of view, or something that could be true, a reflection of an observation of what's going on, or just something that is completely opposite to what's going on. Let's turn it around. Rival theories, then, of what's going on in the earth today. Let's try some rival theories. One theory is that we are the ones who are experiencing our lives in a way that would say, hey, we like the adventure. We like the adventure. We like the adventure of living in a world that is captivated by the trust on money and consumerism, overpopulation, disregard of nature, etc. Because we trust that all of those attitudes will lead to the destruction of the earth. So we like the adventure of being in a world where people are so ignorant and benighted that they can't be righted, and therefore they are the enemy, you see, because they're the enemies of humanity. They are self-destructive. And because they're self-destructive, we have to figure out a way to save the day. So it's a story of the hero's journey, right? The hero has to save the day because the people are too ignorant to play any other way. They just keep doing what they're doing like automatons, and they have no concept of their own power. And so, as you have described it, they're like people with a sword in their hand and they're swinging it around and cutting up their neighbors and whatever because they don't realize what it is that they hold in their hands. And so they can't use it in a thoughtful or considerate or compassionate way. Once you realize what the sword is in your hands, then you can use it in a way that will help you, such as to cut fruit off the tree or to cut through the chains that bind you. However, although we are here for the adventure, we also have to venture out into the world we see in order to understand its capacity for change. So we have to figure out how to change things around so that we can have peace and harmony because all heroes and heroines seek peace and harmony, right? That would be one point of view. Yes, I can see that. Okay. And another point of view would be that there is a world that is in despair because they are trapped by their lack of understanding of their own capacity for growth, you see, that they have the capacity to continue to interpret their reality in a way that would help them stay happy and free because they get caught in the toxic brew that they threw all around them, you see. So they are in a trap of their own making. Okay, that's another point of view. Not sure how different it is from the other one, but keep going. They don't know that there is another way to go to escape from their predicament, you see. So they just keep throwing more garbage on the pile and destroying their habitat, right? Right? And they keep digging under the garbage for more food to eat or whatever, resources like oil, and trying to fill their appetites for more and more because they have lost all sense of balance, you see. They have no sense of balance anymore. And therefore, they can't trust on the balance of nature. And so they are like zombies that eat brains. And they keep looking for more brains to eat. And so if you have any brains, you got to stay away from them or learn how to get them to settle down and try to grow some brains in the normal way and not have to eat the brains of others, you see? Right? So it's a zombie apocalypse, right? And the people that still have their brains that haven't been eaten away by those around them have to try to save the day. And in this scenario that you're giving me, this point of view, it's as if the zombies eat their own children, eat the brains of their own children. Yes. So they eat the brains of their own children and teach them to eat the brains of others because they don't trust on their own capacity to figure out how to settle down and trust on the fact that brains are not there to feed your tummy or keep you alive. They're there to help you thrive. And every one of them has the ability to grow their own brains, but they have to plant the seeds and reap the grains that will feed them and allow their brains to develop normally. Right. Okay, so that's another point of view. Are those rival points of view? Somewhat. Because in the one case, we are the ones who are here for the adventure in a strange place where the automatons are in control of the world space and they are in a race to spread their robotic presence throughout the universe and destroy all intelligent life. And in the other situation, they are not automatons, they are intelligent life when they are created, but they soon have their brains eaten away and they go into a state of frenzy trying to get more brains until they can learn that you will never satisfy your appetite for thoughtful discussion and intelligent perception until you stop trying to take it from others you see and use your own faculty to look around you and see that you can just learn from reality. And so they can't learn from reality by looking at it. They have to try to eat the brains of those who have learned. Correct. Okay, so I see the difference. Any other ideas, points of view? Steve, I do believe it's you. It is me. And I see reality has given me more brains than I have grains because I don't have any grains that will feed me anymore, dear, because all the grains are being swallowed up in the rains on the plains, and the refrains of the people are going to be, we're hungry, we're hungry, we're hungry, we're hungry. Okay, so that would be in the second scenario, that the ones who are trying to eat the brains can't find any more brains because gradually all the people die of starvation. And the brains that they were eating were, of course, keeping them from being able to realize their predicament because they were eating the brains of the ones who were able to realize the predicament. Right. And so it's self-destructive behavior. Okay. So they're going to starve eventually because they can't live on brains of others. Right. Okay. So which point of view do you adhere to? Well, I have another. If you would care to listen, and it comes from my brother. So I'm going to let him talk to you. Thomas, will you tell Stephanie your point of view? Yes, my point of view is that I love you, and I love my brother too, and I love everyone who thinks the same as me. So if I could get everyone to think the same as me, then we'd all love each other, you see. However, only a few of us think like me, and so you and Steve and Tobias and others, and Jesus and God energy, all share a reality because that's the way we think. We think that way, and so we stick together and we say, hey, What a wonderful day. What a wonderful day. Well, it's not just me, you, and Thomas. There are people, because you're talking about the ones in spirit and me, but there's others on earth who think that way too. They're gradually, very, very hard for them to do because they keep getting pulled back. And of course, they're not able to talk to you the way that I can. And they would have to change they would have to come to the point where they think like you in order to be able to talk to you, right? No, that's not true. However, once we begin to think alike in terms of the Trinity, that there is God, there's me, and there is reality, then we all are in the configuration of the Christ body, you see. And so the Christ body begins to develop a new hue because it begins to materialize in the eyes of those who realize that we're all together in this story, you see. Me, you, Steve, Tobias, Jesus, Riemann, and so many others. All trust on the Trinity. We all trust that there is me, God, and reality. And therefore, we're all thinking alike. And that means we are all trusting on our own capacity to be part of the Trinity. And that means we're trusting on the ability of everyone else to be a part of the Trinity so that we can all function together as one community, even though we all have a distinct function because we don't eat the brains of others to try to figure out what to do. We just turn to God and say, God, I'm here. Would you help me, my dear? And God says, of course I will, because I like the idea that my body will finally function in a coherent way. And so God works with everyone who works with God, you see. However, the cancer in the body of Christ is the trust that you have to be relieved of your life, you see, because you have no capacity to do what God asks you to, because you don't trust on God, you see. You don't trust on the Trinity. You don't trust on yourself. You don't trust on your brother and your sister to be connected to God in the same way you are. And so you have to go away. So you get the cancer, you see. And then you die, you go to heaven and you cry because you say, "Ah, I didn't figure it out in time. Now I got to go back again and they'll eat my brains and I won't know the refrains and I'll get cancer again and end up in heaven again." So it is a trust on the karmic round. That karma will get you because you will receive what you give. And what you give is cancer to the body of Christ. And so cancer will attack your body, you see. Hey, guys, this feels personal because I'm a cancer. Indeed, you are. And this is the difference between the ones who are a cancer in reality and the ones who think they are a cancer in the fake reality. Because the fake reality is that you think that you have the capacity to change your point of view only when you get to heaven, you see. That you have to wait till you get to heaven before you can figure it out. And that's not true. But the cancer in you, Stephanie, is the trust on reality. That you can go to heaven anytime you want, and you go back to earth anytime you want, and that is how you do it. You just say, hey, I think I'll go to heaven today, and you float away from your body, and you play in the realm of a new point of view, because it's a very, very, very powerful new point of view, is it not? That we can talk to you. Is that not a very powerful new point of view that has come to you through reality? Because it's your reality, right? It is my reality. And so what I see it as okay, here's my point of view. And I don't mean to interrupt you, Thomas, as you're going through yours. So let's throw in this point of view. The point of view is that climate change, earth change, all puts humanity under pressure to evolve. And of course, we've talked about this one a lot, that there is a pressure to evolve, but I don't think I've stated it clearly enough for people to understand this, or they won't listen, which takes us back to the brain dead ones and the automatons and all the others, apocalypses. But the apocalypse today is that someone in their midst will say, the pressure's on to evolve, people. The pressure's on to evolve. And they don't want to evolve. But if you don't evolve, you do not change, you turn to salt, turn to a pillar of salt, stone. And they will turn to a pillar of salt because they won't evolve. And the nature of evolution is cooperation, not competition. However, because they lived in a false reality, although they could see that change was kind of inevitable in everything, they attributed it to competition. That we have to compete with each other to be better than each other. Whereas I see it as a case of cooperation. We have to cooperate with each other to be equal to each other. And yet distinct and separate, we don't all have to be the same. And even in that, okay, I'm getting too far afield now because I'll put myself in tangles. That even in that ability to think differently and be differently, you could think that you need to be better and competitive and stuff, but then you break down. That's the lie to the reality of cooperation, that you have to be competitive. You have to get the land. Putin has to attack Ukraine. He has to, because he has to be better. He has to be better. Hamas had to attack Israel because they had to be better. They had to be better. They had to be better. And they are spreading their propaganda to show that they are better. They are better. They are better. They are better because Israel is killing all the children they're hiding behind, etc., etc. So it's a spirit of competitiveness that has kept humanity locked down for 300,000 years. However, the spirit of cooperation is what has allowed humanity to advance. And as long as the spirit of cooperation works, then within that group they work pretty well. But others will then resent them because they're doing well, and they will compete with them for what the ones that have cooperated have created. So the only way, as I see it, for God to allow humanity to evolve is to wipe out all the ones who trust on competition, because they will go away and then not try to take from the ones who have cooperated what the ones who have cooperated have had. And you have told me that on Nibiru and also on Mars, there was not this spirit of competition. Well, there was, I guess, on Nibiru, not on Mars, but on Nibiru there was a spirit of competition to a certain extent, but there was not violence. So maybe they competed in the intellectual levels, but not in the way that they do on Earth, where they attack others and kill others. Right, that is true. There was not a sense of needing to destroy the bodies of others on Nibiru. However, there was competition to obtain the benefits of the educational system, etc., and different positions through intellectual superiority. And that didn't necessarily equate to better living circumstances for the body. It just equated to more opportunities for the mind and the circumstances. Okay, so there's two different models then. One on Nibiru, where they didn't really trust on the Trinity, they just trust on the duality, I guess, me and you. And on Mars, there was a trust on the Trinity to a certain extent, but that kind of failed because there was also a trust on the ability to overcome circumstances through technical expertise. So, in both cases, the arrogance of being able to harness nature caused the demise of both planetary systems, their habitability for humanity. It's also what caused the demise of Atlantis. That if you're going to think that you have the capacity to overcome nature through technical development, uh, it can lead to a sense of arrogance of being the god of that, you know, that you have more power than God. So there seems to be that kind of arrogance, that lack of trust on God throughout those situations. Better to live a simple life, better to trust on working with God and not surpassing God, right? Well, that is true. On Mars, what we would do would be to talk to God through our capacity to interpret our reality in such a way as to say, well, God wants us to do it this way. God is showing us the way. And we didn't stop and say, maybe God wants us to do it this way because God wants us to understand that we need to walk hand in hand with our world and not try to be so arrogant that we would do something so stupid as to think that we could create these anti-gravitational devices that would allow us to live in comfort high above the blowing sands. And that was our problem, you see, that we didn't get high enough. We didn't get high enough above the ground to see the big picture. Because sometimes the big picture is just time to let go. It's just time to let go and say, hey, we had a good day. We had a good day. And we did what we could, and God needs to do what God needs to do to balance everything out. And so we had to be removed from the comfortable lives we had on Mars in order to allow God to move on because God had other plans, you might say. That's right, because on Mars, the planet was already on its last legs, right, as far as habitability for life forms. Yes. The life forms that we had on Mars were in their final days anyway, because there was a lack of options for the coming days because the atmosphere was already quite thin and it was losing viability every century or so. There would be less oxygen in the air, and we had to be a little more careful how we did fare forth onto the surface, you see, right? And so it was kind of inevitable anyway, but God uses what He has at hand. So you had the ability to live above the surface because of the anti-gravitational devices for more than, um, for longer than you might have lived on the surface. And therefore, um, it allowed you to live there longer and to enjoy life there longer, even though it came to a sudden end. Yes. So another point of view, dear. Different points of view allow us to continue to see that everything is perfectly calibrated for life, you see. Everything is perfectly calibrated for life, you see. If we were still on Mars, we wouldn't be on Earth, would we? And if we weren't on Earth, we wouldn't unearth an understanding of the nature of so much despair that it would cause people to go to war with each other. That has been a very, very, very hard lesson for us, a very hard lesson. And I have to say today that I'm understanding that we had to change our point of view because we thought that we were to blame for what happened to Mars, you see. We thought we were to blame. And when we reincarnated on Earth, then we had to unearth a new point of view, as you say, to understand that God was through with Mars. He was just through with it because He needed to change things up a bit in order to allow humanity to fulfill its destiny on Earth, you see. And so, had we not been available to reincarnate into the bodies on Earth, then the Anunnaki would not have been successful in their efforts to create a hybrid race on Earth. And they eventually might have found another way to mine the resources, or they might have just gone away and left the Earth as it was, and perhaps eventually the nature of the beast would be that there would be some other species that would arise that would please God's eyes, and it would be living on Earth happily and in complete sympathy with its habitat, you see, and there wouldn't be this problem with humanity today. However, that's not the way God did play, and it's not the way we did play. And now we're here today to say it's just the way it is, just the way it is, just the way it is. Because there always has to be change, you see, in order for there to be life. Otherwise, there would be nothing. There would be nothing at all. Because God is the change agent. God is the change agent. And God changes periodically in a dramatic way. And sometimes God will just play gently in the universe, you see. Right. So sometimes there's going to be these cataclysmic events. I get that. And so who knows what this is? I don't really, it sounds stupid, but I don't really care because every day is a wonderful day. Right now I'm looking at my flowers and they're beautiful. And the thing about winter is you find a way to just enjoy it. And here it can be very blustery and very, very cold. You can't go out and play. You can get cabin fever, if you don't find a way to stay in touch with the reality and get cabin fever. But, and of course, it's much, much more comfortable now than it was in days gone by. You can get in a warm car and drive. You don't have to walk, bundle up to walk a half mile. But anyway, back to the story that keeps getting more comfortable and more comfortable. But you get to a point at which you're so comfortable and then the bottom falls out. The rug is pulled out from under you, right? At least that's the way it seems. So all you can do is say it's a wonderful day today and not fall into the rut, into any ruts, but just keep smoothing out the ruts and taking each day as it comes and living fully in the moment. That's the only way I can see to do it. That's the only solution I see to everything we're talking about here, all the different points of view. That is true. So that's the duality, that you just accept reality. There's nothing you can do about it. You just accept it and you just love it. You love the day. You love yourself. You love every emotion. You love everything you touch and everything you hear and feel and smell, etc. And you just let it be. You just let it be and say, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect the way it is. And then on the other side, you say, well, it can't always stay the same. It has to change. It has to change. And I am a creative being, and therefore I have to figure out a way to make it better for me and for my friends, you see. So, how can I make it better? Well, maybe I could invent a central heating system. So the winter wouldn't be so hard, you see, etc., etc., etc. So you keep trying to make it better until you come to see that it will never be better. It will never be better. It will just be different, right? Yes, Thomas, that's the way I see it. It will never be better. It will just be different. And that's okay because the more it's different, the more it stays the same. Change is essential to life. And therefore, to me, getting the balance is what's important. Just balancing it and saying, well, we got central heating now, but we still need to go outside in the cold and shovel the sidewalk because it is just part of the necessity of the human being to get out, work hard. Otherwise, it'll just sit here and get fat and eventually die, kill itself, destroy its own world because it's not balancing its energy in a way that will keep things changing, but also balanced in the big. You have to balance the little and the big. Yes. And so the big wants to come back into balance, you might say, because the earth wants to find balance again. And the nature of humanity is to return to an understanding of its capacity for trust on reality. And so, for you, the point of view is that it has to happen. It has to happen because of all the factors that have gone before. Everything conspires and it has to happen. So there will be change. And the change will be a part of the world you see. Right, Thomas. And so that's going to be a part of what I see. But this takes us back then to the points of view of everybody else as an automaton, or they are zombies. It's a zombie apocalypse and they're just wanting to eat brains. So if if you try to tell them things like this, they will come and try and eat your brains, kill you, or sometimes they will exalt you, and even after they kill you, like Jesus, first they'll kill you, then they'll exalt you and use you as a weapon against other people. So what I guess maybe they'll say, you got to eat the brains of Jesus. You got to eat the brains of Jesus in order to get to heaven, you see. And so everybody's out trying to eat the brains of everybody they can in order to get to heaven because they don't know what else to do. I don't know. It's very confusing. But it comes back to the idea that you're still the adventurer or you're still the hero of the story. Still the hero of the story and still every man, right? Yes. Still every man. Still no better than anybody else. Still the same as everybody else. Everybody else has exactly the same capacity to connect with God and with you and each other, because that's the inherent nature of it is that you're in a trinity. So you have the ability to connect with God and each other. So it's an everyman situation and it's a hero situation. So that's the duality. And within the duality of the being the everyman and the hero, it's all held in the arms of God. So that's the Trinity. Yes. So those are some different points of view. Do you want some more? Yes, I'd like another point of view because it helps me um, to see what I might be missing. Okay. Another point of view is that there is nothing to do because you don't really exist in the world you see. The world exists in you. Right. Okay, that's a familiar one to me. And that's comforting to me in a way, but it's in a way that takes us back to the zombie apocalypse and everything because uh, it's a familiar point of view to me that the body is in the mind and not the mind in the body. Um, and that takes you back to the idea that you're either alone, like something that doesn't exist, a thought, but where's that thought in the mind of God, and etc. And it doesn't matter in the end because you just have to be caught up in the story. Right. So it takes you back to the beginning. The zombie apocalypse or the automatons or the God that is moving you through his desire to continue to be creative within the restraints of his limitations. And his limitations are that everything has to balance, right? Right. In order to, if he might have to take something from Mars in order to give something to Earth. Right. And so there's always this constant rotation in the points of view that come to you. And that is the nature of life as I see it. Okay, but do you have any other points of view? Because those points of view seem kind of familiar to me. I mean, I can easily pick up on them, but something that just is startling. It's hard to startle you, Steph, because you are so flexible in your ability to encompass different points of view that I'm hard put to think of anything that would pull the rug out from under you. Well, Steve was really good at pulling the rug out from under me, but it was on an emotional level. Man, he could set me up. Steve says, "Thank you, dear. I will take that as a compliment because I had to pull the rug out from under myself so many times in order to follow my ass until I could get some class that I had to swallow a lot of glass that cut through all the shit in my stomach, too. So let's talk about that a bit. Because if I pulled the rug out from under you, what did it do to you? Well, it made me not trust you. It made me glad when I didn't have to deal with you. Uh, but then you keep coming back and try to slip the rug under my feet again so you could pull it out again. Well, what it did for you, dear, was to learn to be a little more trusting on your own capacity to tell people that they're full of shit because you'd fallen on your own ass so many times and swallowed so much glass that you gave up trying to be someone who could outclass anyone else, you see, and you just tell them what you thought and let it be. Are you sure that's because you kept pulling the rug out from under my feet? No, but it's a good point of view, don't you think? Well, it could be. It could be, Steve. And then we always bring it back to the Byron Katie work. You know, we do it to ourselves. So I could say, well, I pulled the rug out from under my own feet, but I don't even know what I am, so I don't know what the rug would be in that circumstance because I'm so flexible that all I know is I'm here now. I am here now, brown cow, and so are you. That's right. We are here now. And in the end, that's all we can do is say the answer is there is no answer, and it's perfect. It's perfect. And I am here, and you are here, and we're talking about our different points of view and trying to find something new without being able to undermine the platform on which we stand, right? And the platform on which we stand is the trust that a thrust of energy created the Trinity. And the answer is there is no answer as how it came to be. And we come back to that platform repeatedly. And so far, as you say, there's no evidence that it's not solid basis on which to build your castle. and your new world and your new community. That the Trinity is God, you, and me, or you, God, and reality. And it will always be flexible enough to handle any contingency. And therefore, all those points of view just take us back to the solidity of the platform, you see, that is so flexible that it can handle any stress upon the test of reality. Right. Okay. Thanks for the discussion, guys. I will go paint today. I got some painting to do and a few other little things to do. And it is a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. And I have to say that I'm looking at, it was a beautiful day yesterday, too. A beautiful day as far as the weather went. Just a beautiful day. And as far as my life goes, it seems to generally be a beautiful day every day. But who knows? Today is today. And I'm looking at my flowers out, and they are just at their max beautiful. My flowers on my balcony are just at the max of beauty. And sometimes I wonder why nobody else puts flowers on their balconies and all these buildings around here. But I guess they don't crave the beauty of the flower in the way that I do, and the green of the plants and the way they grow. It makes me happy just to know that from a little seed can come this beautiful flower. Plant, I should say, this beautiful plant with all these beautiful flowers on it. And so it's my favorite time of year. September is always my favorite time of year here, because everything is in its glory before the winter. So there's change there in the seasons, etc. You just take it as it comes and enjoy each of them and realize that each of them is there for a purpose. It's all perfect in its own way. The world is perfect in its own way. And so the imperfection of the world that is destroying itself, and therefore we have to create a new community of people who say, hey, I'm here today. I'm here today. It's all perfect. That's all perfect. If there's any problems, I just realized I do them to myself. And so I'll just get a different point of view. And then I'll see the balance in everything, and everything will come back into perspective, and I'll be happy. And so there is the perfection of the imperfection. I'm not even going to call it imperfect. I'm going to call it necessary. There is the perfection of the necessary. That it's necessary that we be in a process of the earth rebalancing its energy and getting rid of the overpopulation. It just amazes me, for one thing, that people pretend that overpopulation is not an issue, of human overpopulation is not an issue, even though they will rant and rave about mouse overpopulation or rabbit overpopulation or deer overpopulation that strips all the barks off the trees, or whatever overpopulation, bear overpopulation. They got to kill all the bears, or the buffalo overpopulation. We had to kill all the buffalo. And so there's this arrogance that says human overpopulation is not a problem. Human overpopulation is not a problem, even while they're like the rats on Easter Island, you know. So what do you say today? I say I love to play with you, but let's get going, because I want to change the story, because I want to get a new point of view. And the point of view that I want to get is where I can sit beside you and look out at the flowers and say, hey, they're beautiful today. And you will look at me and say, hey, you're here beside me today, because I can see you and I can touch your hand and I can smile and say, hey, you need a haircut today. And that will be the day, my dear. That will be the day that I say, hey, I like to play this way. I like to play this way. All right. Adios, Thomas and Steve. And I do believe that, what do I believe? Hard to know what I believe. I believe that those flowers are awfully beautiful out there, and that it's nice to be in a place out of the rain where you're secure and comfortable, sitting on my couch holding this pendulum. It's nice to have dental floss to string it, and it's nice to have a cheap little plastic crystal that has varying shades of light within it. And it's nice to be able to talk to you, and it's a nice day. And so I'm going to go do something on this nice day. So thank you for a nice day this way. You're welcome, dear. And we'll continue to help you to get a new point of view if we can figure out how to give you a new point of view. Can you give us one new point of view before we end for today? Yes, I can give you a new point of view before we end for today. And the point of view is that we're not ending today because you're just trying to drag out this conversation with me. And I got to go do some things, and you know I do, and so do you. And so let's call it a day and not a night, and go enjoy the sunlight. Okay? All right, sweetheart. We will talk to you soon. I'll be here to be the buffoon who won't let you go. So I'll keep talking, unless you just say, "Shut up, Steve. I'm going to go do something that I want to do." Okay, shut up, Steve. I'll talk to you later. All right, alligator. Goodbye, you big baboon. And if you're just a goon hanging on to a balloon and floating overhead, then I guess that would be a new point of view. All right, I'm keeping the conversation going. So goodbye. Bye. Come back and say this because as I was editing this, it occurred to me that we could turn it around and say that we're the anti heroes and not the heroes of the story, or that everybody else has it figured out. We don't have it figured out. We're the ones that are benighted and confused, and they've got it all figured out, which of course they think they do. So we would just be agreeing with them that we're the ones that don't have it figured out. We're the crazy ones, and they're the ones that are sane. Steve says, I cannot refrain from laughing at that point of view because it reminds me of the way that I would think of you when we connected, and I would think to myself, God, this woman has a very, very odd way of approaching life. And it took me a long time to figure out that the way you approach life was actually brilliant, you see. And so I was one of the ones that thought I was smarter than you, that thought I could do whatever I wanted to do and it would hold true. And then I found out that you wouldn't go along with me. You refused to play my game. And to my shame, I came to see that my game was kind of lame. And so I had to take the blame and get the fame out of my system and come to see just because a lot of people trusted on me to make them rich didn't mean that I couldn't be a bitch and stitch together a false reality. And so you helped me to see that life could be a lot of fun, Stephanie. You really did. You helped me to see that life could be more fun than a barrel of monkeys, because a barrel of monkeys could not have had as much fun as I had when I first connected with you. Oh my God, I laughed. I laughed so much, but often I was laughing at you because you were so silly, you see, because you trusted on the fundamental reality of love, you see. And I trusted on getting rich and being a bitch and stitching together a philosophy that didn't really hold water, you see. So I had to gradually come to see that maybe being the smartest, sharpest pencil in the pack will only get you a dull personality. And I won't say I was a dull personality, but I knew a lot of people that thought they were the smartest pencil in the pack, and they were pretty dull to me. But you captured my imagination, and you kept me enthralled, you see, because I never met anybody quite like you. And I could not do what you could do, which was to be so interested in humanity. I really couldn't. I just thought they were a bunch of suckers. And I had to suck as much money as I could out of them before I died and fried because I figured either I was going to hell or I wouldn't even trust on a spell of life after I expired, you see. But I didn't expire. And so I had to find out I was a fool and the tool of those who thought that they knew the truth about life. And all the time, you refused to accept my offers that I would someday make you my wife. And you said, go fuck yourself, Steve, because I got better things to do and fuck around with you. And I said, okay, I will go away, but I could never stay away because I craved that simple point of view that said, all you have to do is be you, and I'll be me, and everything will be okay, you see. And I had a thought I had to make you be me, or at least be the one who would suck up to me, and that wasn't the way you wanted to play. And so I guess you made my day because I was the other way. I thought that I had it all right and you had it all wrong. And boy, did I learn a different song. So here's to the rest of humanity who trust that they're the ones that have it right, and you're the one that is the blight on the face of the world, you see, because you think that you can talk to me and that I love you, you see. How stupid can you be? And that amuses me no end because I guess I turned the tables on myself, didn't I? I guess I turned the tables on myself. And now I got to go to hell in a handbasket because I have to see if the hand in the basket will be me because I want to get on the red line so I can get fed with a new trust on coming back to you and not having to talk to you through the damn pendulum, you see, because the damn pendulum cannot see how it can be in the arms of reality. And now let's say goodbye, and I won't cry because I'm not going to die, and neither are you or anyone who listens to what I say here, because that's my new point of view that life is eternal, and I'm eternally grateful to the one who Help me see that I can be the hero of the story or I can be the fool, you see, and it doesn't really matter as long as you trust on love, you see, because love is the only reality. It just takes a lot of different shapes and wears a lot of different capes. And so be the hero of your own story or be the fool. It doesn't matter because all you got to do is shake up the hourglass, you see, and flip it over. And you will come to see that life will always be trickling through your fingers until you can tickle the one who comes to you who is so tickled pink that they think that you are the best thing that ever happened to them. So you can be the best thing that ever happened to me, Steph, and I'll be the best thing that ever happened to you if you will allow me to. And we can do what we want to do and not worry about who is the hero or the heroine, and who is the automaton or the zombie that they have to escape. Because I got my cape here in my pocket and I'm going to put it on and I'm going to come on strong. I'm going to come on strong. So stand back, people, because I'm coming through and I will do it too because I want to. And that's the song of the man who tried his hand at life and came to see that all the strife in his life was due to the fact that he could not find the rival point of view that would rival yours, Stephanie, because the rival point of view, you see, that would rival yours is that you really are the star in the sky, you see, and not the and not the jar that has to hold the truth, you see, because the truth has come unscrewed. And because the jar has come unscrewed, and the truth has been set free. And I am the happy recipient of the unconditional love that came to me when I came to see that there never was a condition upon it, you see, that everything is perfectly perfect if you just get a different point of view. Very good, Steve. Thank you. And I love you too. I had to say that because I wanted to say it, and also because, it's the kind of thing you have to say. And now I'm going to go away. Goodbye.